How to search for real estate. So, you want to know the best ways to search for real estate. First, there's a difference between finding real estate and buying real estate. That said, according to the most recent NAR, or National Association of Realtors, profile of home buyers and sellers, quote, for 43% of recent buyers, the first step that they took in the home buying process was to look online at properties for sale, while 18% of buyers first contacted a real estate agent, close quote. The internet can be a great source of information and misinformation. Third-party companies can and do make a lot of money by steering home buyers and sellers in ways that may not always be in the consumer's best interests. So I thought I'd share insights on the home search process and how to do it better. I'm Dio Stevens, a realtor and associate broker primarily serving the New York City and Long Island area full-time for about 20 years. I have earned a lot of letters after my name and will share key insights with you. If you have questions, comments, or ideas for topics you'd like me to address, please comment and connect with me. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, click the bell if you're watching on YouTube, and share information that I provide that you think will help others. I'll probably end up putting this video in a mini-series on some of the do's and don'ts of buying real estate and selling real estate. Note, I will probably use the term house, but I'm referring to all kinds of real estate, sales and purchases. Could be condominiums, cooperatives, single families, multifamilies, commercial properties, and so on. I am focused on downstate New York, the New York City, Long Island, the general New York City metro area, because that's where I do most of my business. Laws, practices, and even court culture, attitudes, and interpretations of laws all vary by location, state to state, region to region. For example, in upstate New York and many other parts of the country, you are more likely to find that real estate brokers use fill-in-the-blank contracts instead of attorneys being used to prepare or customize them. Whereas in downstate New York, you will have an attorney representing you on your purchase contract. Another example, what constitutes an enforceable contract may be different. Will a court enforce an oral agreement, or maybe is a written offer as opposed to a formal contract considered binding? Let me know what other topics you'd like me to cover and what questions you have on real estate. So back to how to search for real estate. On this topic, I should preface by being very real with you. In downstate New York, buyers are valued by real estate agents far less than sellers. This is largely true everywhere, often even in buyers markets, because of time leverage and compensation. If you have enough inventory as a real estate agent, clients' properties for sale, enough buyers will come. For many years, since I started in real estate, most agents and brokers in my area did not understand or practice and often actively discouraged buyer's brokerage or buyer representation. You see, a buyer can be a customer or a client, and there's a time and a place for everything. In recent years, buyer's brokerage has become more widely adopted in my area, but it's still far from the norm. Buyers for many agents are viewed as a necessary evil and often passed off to newer, less experienced agents. Again, just being very real with you. I personally look at things a little differently. I love my seller clients, but I also enjoy helping buyers beat their competition. I feel they are underserved, often need quality guidance they won't otherwise get, and they appreciate the help. To me, it's all about relationships, sellers and buyers. So since 43% of buyers these days begin the home buying process by searching online, let's start the discussion with third-party aggregator websites like Zillow, Trulia, StreetEasy, Realtor.com, etc. Pros and cons to everything in life. In principle, aggregator sites They provide a place consumers can go to find properties for sale or rent easily as they aggregate or bring together listing information from multiple sources onto one platform. They often have tools and widgets that make the sites sticky, keeping consumers on them longer. These often include mortgage calculators and free property valuations, which use AVMs, automated valuation models. And while most normal people don't know this, they're worth the price you paid to get them. Over the years, ownership, business models, and practices of both the companies that own these third-party sites, as well as the real estate industry, have changed. Most consumers have no idea or understanding of these changes or how they are impacted by them. For example, Zillow Group owns many aggregator websites, including Zillow.com, Trulia.com, StreetEasy, etc. They may own or have sold some of these or other sites by the time you're watching this video. They recently purchased ShowingTime, a company real estate agents pay to coordinate property showings. Some years back, the NAR, National Association of Realtors, sold or licensed Realtor.com, or the rights to use and operate it, to an outside company. So Realtor.com is currently run by Move Inc., which is mostly owned by News Corp, the Murdoch family, as in Rupert Murdoch, think Fox News. The term realtor is a trademark for members of the National Association of Realtors. Not all real estate licensees are realtors, but obviously most are. Before the rights to Realtor.com were sold or licensed years ago, Realtor.com was a fantastic resource because you would be connected with the agent responsible for selling the specific property. Sellers could rest assured that their prospective buyers would be put in touch with the agent they hired and could hold accountable. That all changed when the rights were sold or licensed. Now Realtor.com sells leads to agents, just like Zillow. They do have a directory search tool of all realtors and show NAR designations and certifications that the agents may have earned. So there's that. So how do these third-party sites make money, and how does that affect you? First off, some of these websites are owned by publicly traded companies. So you can check out their 10K reports and other filings to get this kind of information and dig deeper if that sort of thing interests you. That said, one primary way they make money is by selling leads to real estate agents. They may charge real estate agents hundreds or thousands of dollars a month for buyer and seller leads. In some cases, these are subscription fees, and in other cases, they are hefty referral fees. So get this. Pretend you are a home seller or an agent hired by one. Your for sale property listing information is automatically published on the aggregator's site, exposing it to potential buyers. All good so far. The buyers click on your property and decide they want to speak to the agent for more information and to possibly see and buy the house. When they click Contact Agent, they're sent as a lead to a different agent who's paying the aggregator for leads. That agent may or may not steer the buyer to that property. If they do, and the buyer buys, you and your agent pay that other agent for putting the deal together, a deal that probably should have gone to your agent in the first place. If they don't, well, you lost that buyer. Either way, the aggregator gets paid. Some aggregators will allow the listing agent the privilege to pay them to receive their own buyer leads for your property. Others won't. Now, since you're probably a buyer, let's look at it from your perspective. You probably thought you were contacting the agent with the most information on that listing. You are not the aggregator's customer. You are their asset. They are selling your information and your interest as a lead to their customer, the agent that's paying them. That agent, the one they connect you with, is not likely to tell you anything that might steer you away from them. If you say that you have a buyer's agent already, they'll drop you because they won't get paid unless they happen to have a listing of their own that might work for you. In that case, they will try to guide you to that one instead of the one that you inquired on. Either way, you have a lower chance of getting what you wanted, the best information about that specific property. Some aggregator sites may show a link for contact buyer's agent, which makes you think that the agent will be representing your best interests. Again, not necessarily so. First off, they aren't a buyer's agent unless you hire them to represent you as a buyer's agent. So this is more a way of making it seem like the aggregator is telling you that their customer is not the listing agent. Remember, their customers are the agents that pay them for leads. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that if you choose to have a buyer's agent, you need to make sure that they are specifically trained in buyer's agency. The law doesn't require a licensed real estate agent to have specific buyer representation training, but you need to. Since many aggregator sites sell your information to their agent customers, they also promote their customers and control how non-customer agents can appear on their sites. This is one reason why sometimes you'll see an agent look like a superstar on one site and a nobody on another. So, should these sites be avoided in your search? No, not necessarily, but you need to be careful how you connect with an agent and understand the rules of the road. Now let's move on to how-to tips on finding the right property. Finding properties is the easy part. Finding the right property and understanding how to determine that, and then successfully competing and buying that property, that's the tough part. You want to have competent guidance and help. The specific details matter, and determining which agent you will work with and how you will work together is really important. It's actually a longer conversation that I don't want to go too deep into in this video. But in a nutshell, an agent can wear different hats depending on the transaction and the relationship with the consumer. They can act as the sub-agent of the seller, even if they are with a completely different company than the listing broker and don't know the seller from a hole in the wall. They can act as a broker's agent, which some would say is almost a distinction without a difference. Or they can act as a buyer's agent. These agency relationships all come with fiduciary obligations. Think client-attorney relationship. In some places, another option is transactional brokerage, where the agent is more of a facilitator rather than a fiduciary. What matters is how they're supposed to work within a transaction and handle information and the party's interests. Are you a customer or are you a client? There's a time and a place for everything. Note that the hat they're wearing has nothing to do with compensation, legally. From a practical perspective, it generally will, but probably not how you would assume. In many cases, the seller is subsidizing or paying the full commission due to the agent handling the buyer side of the transaction anyway. An agent is doing that work, regardless of whether they represent the buyer or the seller. If you think about it, as the buyer, except in the most rare cases, you fund the entire transaction. So your money is being used to pay everyone involved. The banks, the attorneys, the brokers, the agents, the title company, the seller, everyone. The seller just gets credit and tax benefit for much of it, but they pay with your money and the money from your mortgage loan. Again, it's a longer conversation. When I represent buyers, I have a specific process designed to save them time and frustration and to increase the likelihood they get the property they choose. This process factors in a few key awarenesses. One is efficiency. If it takes you months to find and purchase a property, you've bought in a completely different market than when you started. You have obviously lost time, which is life. And you have probably lost money in more than one way that you might not realize. Another factor is perspective. We don't know what we don't know. So one of my goals is to make sure to expand your perspective, your awareness of your options, so that you can choose what's best for you. This includes things like property types, financing options, and strategies available to you that you might not have been aware of or thought through. This guidance, collaboration, and access to the freshest, most accurate information allows you to make better decisions faster than your competition. Think of it this way. If you and another buyer are running from a big grizzly bear that is hell-bent on catching supper, do you need to be faster than the bear? A grizzly bear runs 35 miles per hour. That bear is getting supper, and you ain't gonna be faster than it. Do you need to be? No. You need to be faster than the other buyer, faster than your competition. My process is designed to make you faster and smarter and more effective than your competition. In bullet points, here's my process for a buyer. Initial 15 to 30-minute phone call to get the overview of their situation and goals and give them basic awarenesses of the process and next steps. This determines what should happen next. Number 2, get them pre-approved by a lender or make sure that their pre-approval is appropriate to their circumstances and the market. Conduct a thorough strategy session in which I conduct a needs and opportunity analysis. Educate them, determine if and how we will work together, complete our initial paperwork. Next, a key point, I conduct the property search with them, not for them, and not automated, and not referring them to search online and call me. We search together using all appropriate tools and resources so they can see the latest, most accurate, and complete information, including info only available to the brokers. For example, great price, no roof. That's probably not a candidate for you. I help them eliminate all but the best property candidates and have them rank stack their picks. In a timely fashion, we then visit their available top choices, choose the best, and prepare a strategic offer package. My buyer clients generally win their top choice available property because they are well prepared, informed, decisive, and make strategic decisions with my guidance. When I'm working directly with a prospective buyer that's contacted me directly with interest in my seller client's property, I have a process designed to help them. Ultimately, it boils down to education and strategy. Regardless of who I represent, buyers that work with me directly generally outcompete those that work with other agents. If you have not identified a home or real estate you want to purchase, I suggest you look for a buyer's agent. Ideally, someone that has earned the Accredited Buyer's Representative designation. That's the ABR. Or at least the Certified Buyer's Representative, CBR. That's a certification. Connect with them and see if you feel they're knowledgeable, experienced, and effective. Gauge them in part by the questions they ask you. Ask them why you should hire them. If they say you should hire them because they will save you money on your purchase, I'd be concerned. Wrong answer. Lastly, while I'm a fan of quality buyer representation, there are times when it may not be the best idea. I'm not a fan of manipulative buyer representation or in-name only representation. Beware of money grabs, where you've already put a deal together with another agent and another agent tells you they can protect your interests. Beware the website link to contact a buyer's agent, that agent that then pops up to show you property you found online yourself. No consultation, no explanation of how it works, no real needs analysis, no paperwork or skimpy paperwork, like disclosures only and no representation contract. That's really not buyer's representation. If you haven't hired a buyer's agent and have identified a specific property you want and have already seen it, you might introduce some real challenges if you then engage another agent, buyers or otherwise. The listing agent or the agent that showed you the property or discussed particulars of an offer with you will likely be and consider themselves to be the procuring cause of sale. If you bring in another agent, you will likely have to pay that agent for their services separately. Either way, you'll be introducing a variable that may concern the other parties and make you less appealing as a candidate buyer. There is a time and a place for everything. Ultimately, there's nothing wrong with being a customer as opposed to a client. Pros and cons. In my market, you'll have an attorney to make sure the legal protections are in place based on what you agree to with the seller in your offer or negotiation. All right, that's enough for now. We've talked about how buyers are typically viewed in a real estate transaction, at least in my area, and how you can use that information to your advantage. We've demystified third-party aggregator websites and clearly identified that you, their site visitors, are their asset, not their customers. We've reviewed ways that impacts you, whether you're a potential buyer or seller. We've touched on the law of agency and how that works in a real estate context. We've talked about when to hire a buyer's agent and when not to, and how to choose one when appropriate. We've reviewed how these details impact your likelihood of success in finding and winning the property you want. I've touched on the broad strokes of my specialized process to help buyers strategically to work the market instead of getting worked over by the market, and why my buyers succeed at such a high level. Remember, when you are participating in a real estate transaction, you don't need to become a real estate expert. That's unrealistic. You just want to make sure you're working with one, or at least that you know what to look out for. This content I put out is designed to give you key awarenesses to help you make better decisions. Again, connect with me. Questions, comments, ideas, perspectives. What do you think about the pros and cons of buyer's representation? How do you think a buyer should find their next home? What would you do differently if you were looking to buy a home today? As always, if I can help you or someone you know, please reach out. I'm Dio Stevens. You've got questions, I've got answers. Have a great day.